Hi everyone, my name is Laura and welcome to Book Bubbler. Today I am doing a tag, one of the first ones I have done in a very long time. I was tagged, this is the middle grade book tag. I was tagged by my friend Danny at Spinelli Speaks. And if I can just say, I love Danny. She is wonderful. She has become not just my YouTube friend, but my real life friend. She's funny and smart and beautiful and wide reading and loves a good bargain. Boy, she is like impressive with her bargain shopping, and um, she's just wonderful and kind and getting a little choked up. Sorry, I just adore Danny. So I will link her below. She was my first friend here. I think we're going to be lifelong friends, hopefully. And I hope we can meet sometime soon too. We don't live too far apart. So go check out Danny at Spinelli Speaks. Her version of this tag was wonderful. She has an awesome new series she's doing called Rapid Reviews. So it's reviewing a book in 60 seconds. They're really funny. She is just fabulous and wonderful. And I cannot say enough good things about her. She is just wonderful. So please go check out Danny's channel and subscribe if you haven't already. She is fabulous. Fabulous. Love you, girl. Okay. Let's get started on this middle grade tag. This was really fun to get together, and I have big piles of books right in front of me here, so apologies in advance for bumping the camera. I'm really trying not to be shaky, but this table is old and not 100% stable, and every time I just touch it, everything moves. So I'm going to try and move things around here as smoothly as possible. So, okay, here we go. Question number 1. What is the last middle grade book that you read? And that is Help, I'm a Prisoner in the Library by F. Clifford. This was cute. This was about two sisters they're in their station wagon with their family, who has a station wagon these days. And in a snowstorm, the car runs out of gas. So the youngest girl has to go to the bathroom, and so the mom says, okay, you take your younger sister out to go to the bathroom in the library. The girls get locked in. The librarian doesn't see them in there. So they're stuck there all night, and spooky stuff happens, and it's a huge blizzard. The parents are looking for them, but they don't know it yet. You know, it was cute. Didn't love it, but it was cute. So that's my latest read. Number 2, what is a middle grade book someone read to you as a child? And I've talked before a little bit about Caddy Woodlawn by Carol Ryrie Brink. This was like the idyllic childhood thing. My mom would read this to me every summer under our apple tree in the backyard. So there's a little Pollyanna moment of my childhood for the day. But this is a really neat story about Caddy, who's growing up out in Indian Territory, and she befriends some Native Americans, and there are conflicts between the white people that moved in, and then of course the Native Americans who that is their land. But I really remember liking it. I haven't read it since my mom last read it to me when I was, I don't know, in grade school for sure. So I don't know how it's holding up, but we had lots of good conversations about treatment of Native Americans and prejudices and things. And yeah, so this was the one that's like my go-to standard answer. But I remembered another one. And because everything is closed, I don't own a copy of this yet. I had to print out a copy of the cover. So it is Mrs. Pigglewiggle. Do you guys remember these books? This is by Betty McDonald. There were a series of, I think, 3 or 4 of them. And then her daughter and or granddaughter started a new series, finished up a couple of others. But anyways, Mrs. Pigglewiggle. Mrs. Pigglewiggle lives in an upside-down house with a kitchen that always has fresh baked cookies, and the neighborhood seems to be made up mostly of very misbehaved children. So when the children come to Mrs. Pigglewiggle's house, they talk about their problems, and Mrs. Pigglewiggle goes to her magical trunk or chest. She was married. Her husband has passed away, but he left her a trunk full of magical cures. Her husband also, Mr. Pigglewiggle, used to be a pirate. So that's pretty cool too. So she goes into her trunk and she helps, the correct behavior of children in one way, but the kids don't know it. They just think it's some kind of fun thing. So if I remember correctly, each chapter has a different problem or cure. Like there is the bullying cure, or the picky eater cure, or the messy room cure, stuff like that. And some of the cures are like taking 2 licorice all sorts or something, at, you know, twice a day, or I don't know, whatever. But I loved these books as a kid because they had really quirky, funny language, and I I just loved them a lot. So they're a little old-fashioned, but they're wonderful old-fashioned. So yeah, highly recommend those. Okay, number 3. What was your favorite middle grade book as a child? Unsure, because I read voraciously. But I'm going to pick Roald Dahl, just in general. So I wish I had my copy of The Witches from when I was a kid. I don't know where it is. I checked my parents' house. It's not here at my house. I don't know. It's a little devastating, but The Witches was fabulous. I was so scared at the end. I don't remember why now anymore. But yeah, I am due for a reread for all of these. So The Witches was really great. The BFG, oh, I mean, come on. And my girl Matilda, of course, because she was a book dork just like I am, / was, but really am. So Roald Dahl, especially Matilda. Okay, number 4. What is your favorite middle grade book as an adult? I don't necessarily have one, but I'll just cheat a little bit and do another childhood favorite, and that would be the Little House series by Laura Ingalls Wilder. Specifically, the first book, Little House in the Big Woods, because, oh gosh, I gotta put these down. That is not mine from childhood. I wish it was, but we never could afford it when I was a kid. Little House in the Big Woods. I super related to this because it was set in the country, and my grandparents and my parents helped build a house out on a lake about 45 minutes from here, from where I live. So we would spend time in the country hunting for mushrooms and looking out in nature, housework, of course, but there was always time for fishing or swimming or something. So we were out in nature in the country. Her name was Laura. It's on former Native American land, like, well, most everything, not most, everything in this country was. But my grandmother remembers talking to Native Americans when she was little. She grew up around where they built the lake house. And we would still find arrowheads and things occasionally. So related to all of that, Pa played the fiddle, and when I was in 5th grade, I started playing the viola. They're so warm and cozy, and I just love these books. So this is probably my fondest memory, is this series of books. I will say, however, I have not read all of them. I read the first 2. So this one, Little House on the Prairie, I read. And then I never read Farmer Boy because it was about a boy and boys had cooties. So this is a huge gap in my middle grade reading. I have to correct, but yeah, didn't read that. And then Banks of Plum Creek, By the Shores of Silver Lake. You betcha I read that. The Long Winter, I think I might have read this once. Everything else I read multiple times. Little Town on the Prairie, I didn't finish. I don't think I ever read it all the way through. And I never read These Happy Golden Years, ever. They're the first 4 years. Let me roll over here. Yeah. The first 4 years, I never read this either. So I am due for a reread of this whole stinking series. Maybe over the summer. I mean, I would say I would do one now, but with BookTube prize reading and everything else I'm in the middle of, like 30 books, that seems like just a recipe for failure. So I'm not going to say that yet, but how cool is this box too, by the way? I mean, anyways, enough nerding out about that stuff. Okay, number 5. Who is your favorite middle grade author? And then I am going to also include number 7 with this too. What is your favorite middle grade book cover? So my favorite author and my favorite book covers are John Bellairs. He seems to be way less well known these days. I know a couple of years ago they did, there's a movie adaptation of one of his books, The House with the Clock on Its Walls, that had Kate Blanchett, who was wonderful, and Jack Black, who annoys me, but I will watch it eventually because I want to see the adaptation. So that was out recently, but the rest of his stuff, no one seems to really know about. They're all out of print. So I'm going to show the Johnny Dixon series. He has 3 different series, all featuring sort of 10, 11, 12-year-old boys as the main character, and they're all sort of spooky and supernatural. A little dark. So this is just Johnny Dixon. I just pulled this one off the shelf. It was closest to hand, but these covers are all by my favorite guy, Edward Gorey. So The Curse of the Blue Figurine. I mean, they are all a little creepy, but that's good. Kids like creepy stuff and scary stuff. So this is the first one in Johnny Dixon. The second is The Mummy, the Will, and the Crypt. Oh gosh, I want to read these so bad. The Spell of the Sorcerer's Skull. Look how creepy those eyes are in there. I mean, yeah. The Eyes of the Killer Robot, which this seems very much not robot-y to us these days, but that was a robot. And when I was a little kid, I remember thinking that, aside from like the Rock'em Sock'em robots from like the 50s my parents had. But yeah, anyways, number 5 is The Revenge of the Wizard's Ghost. And I just vaguely remember when it got to this point where he finds this mask in the street, and I was so creeped out by it because this cover is so great. Next one is The Trolley to Yesterday. And the last, unfortunately, has newer covers, which are fine, but they're not Edward Gorey, and it's The Secret of the Underground Room. I couldn't find a vintage copy of this one, which is really bumming me out, but that's okay. So, yeah, John Bellairs, man. Almost all Edward Gorey covers. Between this and the Masterpiece Mystery animated introduction with Edward Gorey stuff, that was like, he was my guy. He's still my guy. I mean, can't beat him. So, yep. Okay, so the question I skipped was question 6. What middle grade book do you think should be required reading in school? I really have no idea. I could have talked to my friend about this. She is a former middle school English teacher, but I think she's busy with her hands full with her own middle school age kids at home right now. Hi, Joy. So I'm not sure what I would pick. So I'm just going to skip it because that's cheating, but whatever, I'm doing it. And the very last question is, what is your favorite middle grade book to screen adaptation? Now, for almost all of like the more recent books, the ones I have seen people do for this tag, where it's Matilda, and it's the one with Mara Wilson as Matilda, and the newer version of The Witches with Angelica Houston, and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I watched the movie, but I've never read that Roald Dahl book. I know. Anyways, I've either only read the book and not seen the movie, or vice versa. I couldn't find anything that has been adapted that I have read both the book and watched the movie of, which is super, super weird for me. That's so unlike me. I can't even tell you. I was sort of stunned for a little bit when I figured that out. But I'm cheating a little bit because I'm planning on reading this book this year. And that would be Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of Nim by Robert C. O'Brien. Or is it O'Brien, like Dara O'Brien? Please someone tell me. Angie with an E, do you know? Is it O'Brien? So Mrs. Frisby, she is a widowed mouse. She's got 4 little children. She lives in a field with the farmer. I don't know what the farmer's name is. Doesn't matter. And she has to move her family because her youngest son, Timmy, is sick. So she tries to, she finds the secret of Nim, which is a group of rats who are very intelligent. They're very highly trained. They're pretty nasty, though. So she's trying to get them to help her figure out a solution to move Timmy, who is sick, and the rest of her household out of the field before the farmer plows it. And there is Zachary, who is the crow here that befriends her. He's kind of a goofball. Yeah, so I'm picking this as my book to screen adaptation, even though I haven't read this yet. But The Secretive Man. I mean, this was such a huge part of my childhood. I can't even tell you. It's just so wonderful. Yes, it's dark and creepy, but this was also one of the few movies out in like the 80s for for kids, and they were almost all really super dark. Black Cauldron by Disney, that was the only movie that came out in the 80s, really. That was, I think, 84, 85. That's really dark. This is dark. Labyrinth came out. That's also dark. The Dark Crystal is super creepy and dark. Never-Ending Story, another dark one. I mean, it's all like dark, creepy stuff. So they're very much like the root of me. But this one, so much. It's so funny and cute and sweet and also scary and heartwarming. And it's so good. I can't recommend this movie enough. I really need to read this book. And it's on my list for this year, but I might have to pick it up sooner just so I can watch this as an excuse because it's just so, so good. So that's the whole tag. I hope you enjoyed my rambling, as usual. I don't know who to tag, who has done this and who hasn't. So I'm just going to go out on a limb and tag Angie with an E. And Lazy Owl, she is a friend of mine from Litzy, and she just started her channel. I think she has 1 or 2 videos up, and that's all. But otherwise, consider yourself tagged. If you are watching this and you want to do this, please consider yourself tagged. This was a lot of fun to do and kind of walk down memory lane and look at some things a little differently than I would have normally. So I hope you're all staying healthy and doing well. And I will try and do my best to link something, some music from work. So I'm a massage therapist, and I'm trying to connect people with CDs or music or bands that I listen to when I am at work and people are getting massages. So I'm going to try and find something by Hilary Stagg. He is a harpist, or is he a flautist? There's 2 people. One is a man with a woman's name, and one is a woman with a man's name, and they either play the harp or the flute. This is terrible. But I'm going to try and link to Hilary Stagg's work. It's very nice and relaxing, and if you need a little chill out time, this will be just the perfect thing to just take some deep breaths and relax, and we will all be okay and get through this together. So take care of yourself, take care of your neighbors and friends and family, and stay safe and healthy, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye.